I want to talk about question number 2 of homework 1. This is an Excel question. If you click on the question, you'll immediately see this instruction. All answers must be entered as a formula. So that means even though you may calculate a number, but you have to use the formula rather than directly input that number. So I'll click on that. Based on the following information, calculate the expected return and standard deviation for the two stocks. Complete the following analysis. Do not hard code values in your calculations. Basically, this sentence has the same meaning as the instruction, which basically means that you have to put formulas rather than the numbers in these cells. So here you have two stocks, stock A and stock B. And you're provided with basically 3 states: recession, normal, boom. And for each state, you're given the probability and return under that state. So this E parenthesis R is basically expected return, and variance is the squared probability times squared deviation and sum over the different states. That's basically the weighted average of the squared deviations. So in order to calculate the expected return, we multiply the probability by the return, and then we sum up different states. So then under the recession, the product that we have to put the equal sign, and that equals probability times return. So that's, you can immediately see the answer correct. And similarly, under normal state, you multiply the probability times the return. You have to use the equal sign there, and then you can see the correct again. And then under the boom state, you multiply the probability times the return, and that's basically D10 times E, cell E10, and that gives you another return. So then when you sum up, that equals, you sum over these 3 products, and then you get this expected return for stock A. And then to calculate variance, you have to multiply the probability by the squared deviations. So first, this cell or this column is the return deviation. So that's basically the difference between the return and this expected return. So I guess here you can either type the return minus that, or I guess you can also type this return minus that. So let me try that, whether that works or not. Oh, it doesn't allow me. So let me try with the second cell. So equals that minus the return under normal state. That's this. Oh, actually, it doesn't allow you to do that. So the only way you can input is actually to take the difference between the return and expected return, rather than the difference between the expected return and the return under a specific state. The reason I say these two should be equal, because it should be equivalent to each other, is because eventually you care about the squared deviation. So when you take the squared, the sign here doesn't matter, but the cell actually only takes, connect only takes one way, so let's just follow that. So then return under the booming state minus the expected return. So correct again. and then take the square. So that equals this number. I think you can use 2 star sign. That stands for the oh, sorry, it should be this this sign here. That gives me the squared, and then similarly equals G9 squared, and then this equals G10 squared. So product, that means the product of the probability and squared deviation. So that equals probability times squared deviation. So then continue probability under normal times squared deviation under normal state, and then equals probability under the booming state times the squared deviation under the booming state. And finally, the variance is simply the sum of the 3 products. So go from there, and that's your answer. So you can also, you need to calculate the standard deviation. That's basically the square root of the variance. So equals SQRT. So that's the square root function in Excel, equals this number, and then take square root. So that's basically the stock A. I think stock B, you can do the similar calculations as I skipped that part. This procedure should be exactly the same as what we did for stock A.